April 7, 1947. The richest industrialist in American history lies in his mansion during a massive flood. The power is out. No electricity, just candlelight flickering in the room. A man who revolutionized modern manufacturing, who put the entire world on wheels, dies by candlelight, like someone from the 1800s. But here's the twist. 50 years earlier, Henry Ford was a farm boy who hated farming, dirt poor, working with his hands in the Michigan mud. Somehow, that farm boy became one of the richest men on earth. He built an empire that employed hundreds of thousands. He transformed how everything in the modern world gets made. He gave ordinary people freedom they'd never known. But by the time he died, his company was failing. His reputation was destroyed. His name was associated with hatred and propaganda. He'd gone from American hero to American disgrace. How does a farm boy with no college education become a billionaire? How does he revolutionize 5 different industries? And how does he lose it all, not his money, but something more important, his soul? This is the complete, unfiltered story of Henry Ford. From the mud of a Michigan farm to the peak of American industry to a dark legacy that still haunts us today. On July 30th, 1863, Henry Ford is born at the farm in Dearborn, Michigan. His father William is a farmer, a good one. He owns 90 acres of rich Michigan soil. He expects his oldest son Henry to inherit it, work it, and pass it on to the next generation. There's just one problem. Henry Ford absolutely hates farming. He hates the mud. He hates the animals. He hates the endless, back-breaking labor in the fields. He hates that you can work all year and lose everything to bad weather. He hates that farming is unpredictable, messy, and depends on things you can't control. What Henry loves is machines. At age 13, he sees something that changes his life forever. A steam-powered engine moving down the road under its own power. No horses, no animals, just pure mechanical force. While other farm boys are learning to plow fields, Henry is taking apart watches, clocks, any mechanical device he can find. His neighbors start bringing him broken watches to fix. He charges nothing. He just wants to understand how they work. His father thinks he's wasting time. His mother, Mary, the only person who truly understands him, encourages his curiosity. Then tragedy strikes. Mary Ford dies when Henry is just 13 years old. Something breaks inside young Henry when his mother dies. He later says, "The house was like a watch without a mainspring." He buries himself deeper into machines. They make sense. They're predictable. They follow rules. They don't die and leave you. His father wants him to take over the farm. Henry sees a prison sentence. At 16 years old, Henry Ford walks off the farm and heads to Detroit. He's got almost no money, no connections, and no formal education beyond basic schooling. But he's got something more dangerous than education: obsession. In Detroit, Ford becomes a machinist's apprentice. He works 60-hour weeks for $2.50 a week. He sleeps in boarding houses. He's poor, exhausted, and completely focused. He's not just learning to fix machines. He's watching how factories operate. He's seeing waste everywhere: wasted motion, wasted time, wasted materials. And he's developing an obsession that will change the world: efficiency. Not just making things work, making them work with zero waste. By 1891, Ford lands a good job as chief engineer at the Edison Illuminating Company. He's making decent money. He marries Clara Bryant, the woman who will stand by him through everything that's coming. But at night, in a brick shed behind his rented house, Henry Ford is building something that will change his life and change the world. He's building an automobile. And he has a vision nobody else can see. Here's what most people don't know. Before Henry Ford succeeded, he failed, spectacularly, twice. 1896. Ford completes his first automobile, the quadricycle. It's basically a motorized wagon on bicycle wheels. It doesn't even have brakes, but it runs. He drives it through Detroit streets at 2 a.m., terrifying the few people awake to see this horseless carriage roaring past. He sells it for $200 and immediately starts building a better one. By 1899, Ford is ready. He quits his stable job at Edison and founds the Detroit Automobile Company. Investors are excited. Ford is a talented engineer with a clear vision. They pour money into the company. 2 years later, it's bankrupt. Why? Because Ford can't stop tinkering. He keeps trying to perfect the design instead of selling cars. He builds prototypes while investors watch their money disappear. They shut it down. Ford is 38 years old, and he's failed. Does he learn his lesson? No. 1901. New investors give him another chance. The Henry Ford Company launches with great fanfare. This time, Ford lasts exactly 4 months before the investors force him out. They literally remove him from his own company. They take his name off the building and rename it the Cadillac Automobile Company. Ford gets $900 and his walking papers. It's 1902. Henry Ford is 40 years old. He's failed twice. His wife Clara is worried they'll lose their house. Detroit businessmen whisper that Ford is a brilliant mechanic but a terrible businessman. Most men would quit, get a regular job, except that they're not cut out for business. But something is happening inside Henry Ford's mind. Those failures are teaching him something crucial, and they're also twisting something inside him. He starts reading conspiracy theories. Why did his companies fail? In Ford's mind, it's not because he couldn't manage money or meet deadlines. It's because mysterious forces are working against him. International bankers, secret societies controlling the economy. These ideas are seeds, dark seeds. We'll come back to them later because they grow into something poisonous. But first, Ford is about to succeed. And when he succeeds, he doesn't just build a company, he rebuilds the entire world. June 16, 1903. 12 investors give Henry Ford one last chance. They invest $28,000 in the Ford Motor Company. This is it, third company, last chance. Ford is 40 years old. If this fails, he's done. This time, Ford has learned something. Make it simple, make it fast, make it cheap. Sell it before you perfect it. For 5 years, he experiments. Model A, Model B, Model C, all the way through the alphabet to Model S. He's learning, watching the market, refining his vision. Then, on October 1, 1908, Ford announces the Model T. And it changes everything. The Model T isn't beautiful. It's not fast, top speed about 45 miles per hour. It's not comfortable, the ride is rough and loud. But it costs $850 when competitors charge $2,000 or more. It's so simple that any mechanic can fix it. It's tough enough to handle America's terrible dirt roads. And crucially, every part is interchangeable. You can swap parts between any two Model Ts. Orders flood in. Ford can't keep up with demand, everyone wants one. But there's a problem. It takes 12 hours and 8 minutes to build a single Model T. Ford is selling every car he makes, but he wants more. He needs more. That obsession with efficiency is consuming him. He starts watching his workers like a scientist studying lab rats, timing every movement, measuring every motion, eliminating every wasted second. And then he has an idea that will change how everything in the modern world gets made. What if workers didn't move to the car? What if the car moved to the workers? 1913. Ford perfects the moving assembly line. Each worker does one task, just one. Install the engine, attach the wheels, add the steering column, over and over and over. The partially built car moves past you on a conveyor belt. Ford times everything. If a worker reaches too far for a tool, Ford moves the tool closer. If someone turns the wrong direction, Ford redesigns the entire station. The results are inhuman, literally. Assembly time drops from 12 hours and 8 minutes to 1 hour and 33 minutes. Just 93 minutes to build a complete automobile. Production explodes. 1913, Ford makes 170,000 cars. 1920, over 1 million cars per year. The price collapses. $850 becomes $360, then $260. For the first time in history, ordinary working people can afford automobiles. Henry Ford, the farm boy who ran away to Detroit, is becoming one of the richest men in the world. But something dark is happening on that assembly line. Here's what they don't teach in school. The assembly line is hell for the workers. It's mind-numbing, soul-crushing. You stand in one spot doing the same motion every 10 seconds for 10 hours a day. You can't talk, you can't slow down, you can't think. You're basically a human robot. Workers start quitting fast. Ford's annual turnover rate hits 370%. He has to hire 52,000 people every single year just to maintain a workforce of 14,000. Then Ford does something that shocks the entire business world. January 5, 1914, Ford announces he's more than doubling wages, from about $2.50 per day to $5 per day. The Wall Street Journal calls it economic suicide. Other factory owners call Ford a traitor to capitalism. Economists predict the company will collapse within months. But Ford sees something they don't. His workers are also potential customers. If he pays them enough, they can buy the cars they're building. He's not being generous, he's creating consumers. The $5 day transforms Detroit overnight. Word spreads across America. 10,000 people show up at the Ford factory looking for jobs. Riots break out. Police use fire hoses to disperse the crowds. Workers flood to Detroit from every state. The $5 day becomes the most famous wage in American history. But here's the catch that nobody talks about. To qualify for the $5 wage, you have to pass inspection by Ford's sociological department. That's not a joke, that's real. Ford creates a team of investigators who visit workers' homes, unannounced. They check if your house is clean, if you drink alcohol, if you're married properly, if your family life meets Henry Ford's moral standards. Immigrants have to take English classes and prove they're Americanizing. Your private life is inspected like a product on the assembly line. Fail the inspection, you don't get $5, you get paid the old rate. Ford is paying workers well, but he's buying control over their entire lives, inside the factory and outside. This is where Ford's obsession with efficiency becomes an obsession with control. He doesn't just want efficient production. He wants efficient people, efficient families, efficient society. And if you work for him, you live his way, or you don't get paid his way. Still, workers take the deal. $5 a day is life-changing money in 1914. Between 1908 and 1927, Ford sells over 15 million Model Ts. Think about what that means. In 1900, there are about 8,000 cars in the entire United States. By 1930, there are 23 million cars, and more than half of them are Model Ts. The country transforms completely. Young people can date away from watchful parents. Families can visit relatives in other towns. Farmers can reach markets. Workers can live farther from factories. Entire new industries are born: gas stations, roadside motels, diners, mechanics, auto insurance. Suburbs spring up because people can commute. The American landscape itself changes shape. Roads get paved. Highways are built. Small towns along railroad lines die while towns along roads boom. America goes from a nation of isolated farms and crowded cities to a nation of mobility. The Model T doesn't just give people transportation, it gives them freedom. And Henry Ford becomes unfathomably rich. He owns the factories, the coal mines that fuel them, the rubber plantations that supply them, the railroads that ship the cars, the forests that provide the wood. He has one of the largest private police forces in America. By the mid-1920s, Ford's personal wealth is estimated at over $1 billion, worth about $15 billion today. He's featured on magazine covers. He's an American icon. Children learn about him in school. The farm boy from Dearborn, Michigan has conquered American industry. But that darkness we talked about earlier, those conspiracy theories, they're about to explode. 1920. Henry Ford buys a small newspaper called the Dearborn Independent. For the next 7 years, Ford publishes a series of articles called The International Jew. Every week, for 7 years, the Dearborn Independent has a circulation of 900,000 copies. It's distributed at every Ford dealership in America. Buy a Model T, get a free copy of Ford's newspaper. The articles blame Jewish people for everything wrong in modern America. World War I, the Russian Revolution, jazz music, short skirts, changing morals, financial crises, all of it blamed on an international Jewish conspiracy. This isn't just prejudice. This is systematic, weekly propaganda distributed to nearly 1 million people. The articles are compiled into a 4-volume book, The International Jew, the World's Foremost Problem. It's translated into German, multiple editions. In Germany, a young politician named Adolf Hitler reads it. He praises Ford in Mein Kampf. He keeps a life-size portrait of Henry Ford in his office. When asked about American influences, Hitler says, "I regard Henry Ford as my inspiration." In 1938, on Henry Ford's 75th birthday, Nazi Germany awards him the Grand Cross of the German Eagle, the highest honor they give to non-Germans. Ford accepts it. He pins the medal to his chest. He shakes hands with Nazi representatives. Now, Ford's defenders say he apologized in 1927 after Jewish groups threatened boycotts. He issued a vague statement of regret, but the Dearborn Independent's articles continue circulating. The books remain in print in Germany, and when confronted years later, Ford claims he never read what was published in his own newspaper. Would you believe that? That a man who controlled every detail of his assembly lines somehow didn't know what his newspaper published every week for 7 years. Meanwhile, Ford's company is also crumbling. He's refused to update the Model T for nearly 20 years. Competitors like General Motors are offering cars in different colors, with better styling, with comfort features, with financing that lets people buy on credit. Ford's response: any customer can have a car painted any color that he wants, so long as it is black. He's not joking. He believes the Model T is perfect. He fires executives who suggest changes. By 1927, Ford's market share has collapsed from over 60% to less than 15%. He's forced to shut down production completely for 6 months to retool for the Model A. The Model A is successful, but Ford never regains dominance. General Motors takes over as America's largest automaker. The man who revolutionized flexibility in production becomes rigidly inflexible in product design. The innovator stops innovating. Then World War II begins. Despite his earlier Nazi sympathies, Ford's factories become crucial to defeating Germany. At Willow Run, Michigan, Ford builds the world's largest factory, a mile-long assembly line producing B-24 bombers. Peak production: 1 bomber every single hour, 8,685 bombers total. General Eisenhower later says Willow Run won the war. It's a kind of redemption, but it doesn't erase the poison Ford spread. April 7, 1947. We're back where we started. Henry Ford lies dying in his mansion during a massive flood. The power is out, just candlelight. A man born on a farm in the age of steam engines, who revolutionized modern industry, dies in darkness without electricity. He's 83 years old. He's still one of the richest men in America, but his reputation is in ruins. His company is struggling. His name is stained by the hatred he spread. So what's the truth about Henry Ford? He transformed 5 fundamental things: manufacturing, wages, mobility, consumer culture, the American landscape itself. These contributions are real. They changed human civilization. But he also spread hatred that influenced the Holocaust. Both are true. Both are part of his legacy. The lesson of Henry Ford isn't that success makes you good, or that innovation excuses evil. The lesson is this: humans are complicated. You can change the world for the better and still poison it. You can lift millions out of poverty while spreading hatred toward millions of others. We take the innovations, we reject the hate, we remember both. That's the complete truth about the farm boy who became a billionaire, revolutionized the world, and lost his soul.